In the quiet coastal town of Eldridge Bay, where the ocean waves crashed eternally against jagged cliffs, lived a young woman named Elara. She was 25, with hair like midnight waves and eyes that held the depth of stormy seas. Elara worked as a librarian in the old town library, surrounded by books that whispered stories of love lost and found. Her life was simple, predictable, a rhythm of shelving books, recommending classics to elderly patrons, and walking along the beach at dusk, collecting seashells that reminded her of forgotten dreams. Elara had always believed in love, but it had eluded her. Her parents' marriage had ended in quiet bitterness when she was young, leaving her with a fear of vulnerability. She buried herself in novels Romeo and Juliet, Pride and Prejudice, The Notebook, living vicariously through their passionate tales. Real love isn't like that, she'd tell herself. It's messy, fleeting. One rainy autumn afternoon, as thunder rumbled over the bay, a man entered the library soaked to the bone. He was tall, with tousled dark hair and kind hazel eyes that crinkled when he smiled apologetically. His name was Julian, a photographer traveling the coast for inspiration. He had moved to Eldridge Bay temporarily, renting a small cottage near the lighthouse, seeking solace after a painful breakup in the city. "I'm looking for books on local folklore," he said, shaking rain from his coat. His voice was warm, like hot cocoa on a cold day. Elara led him to the section, her heart skipping inexplicably. As she pulled a volume from the shelf, their hands brushed. A spark, literal or imagined, passed between them. Julian thanked her profusely, lingering longer than necessary. Over the next weeks, Julian became a regular. He'd borrow books on shipwrecks, lighthouses, and lost loves of the sea. Each time, he'd chat with Elara about the beauty of rain-swept cliffs, the way light danced on waves, the stories hidden in old photographs. Elara found herself opening up, sharing her favorite poems, her dreams of writing a novel someday. One evening, as the library closed, Julian waited outside under an umbrella. "Would you like to walk the beach with me? The storm's cleared, and the sunset promises to be spectacular." Elara hesitated, her old fears whispering warnings, but his smile was genuine, his eyes inviting. She nodded. They walked along the shore, the sand cool beneath their feet. Julian spoke of his past relationship that had crumbled under the weight of unspoken expectations. "I thought love meant perfection," he said, "but now I know it's about showing up, even in the mess." Elara shared her own scars, her parents' divorce, her reluctance to trust. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Julian stopped and faced her. "Elara, from the moment I saw you among those books, I felt something, like finding a rare photograph that captures the soul." She blushed, her heart pounding. That night, under the emerging stars, he kissed her softly. It was gentle, tentative, a promise rather than a demand. Their love blossomed like wildflowers after rain. Julian photographed Elara reading on the cliffs, capturing her laughter in the wind. She inspired his art. He encouraged her writing. They spent days exploring hidden coves, nights curled by the fireplace in his cottage, reading aloud to each other. But love, as Elara knew from her books, rarely sailed smoothly. Winter brought challenges. Julian's ex, Sophia, reappeared, a glamorous city editor who had once been his muse. She called, emailed, begged him to return for a big gallery show featuring their old work together. "We were magic," she wrote. Julian confided in Elara, torn between loyalty to his past and the new life he was building. Elara felt the old insecurities rise. "Do you still love her?" she asked one stormy night, tears in her eyes. Julian held her close. "I loved who I was with her, but with you, Elara, I love who I am now. You're my present, my future." Yet doubt lingered. When Julian decided to attend the gallery show to close that chapter once and, for all Elara's fears peaked. "What if you realize the city is where you belong?" He promised to return in a week. "This is just goodbye to the past. You're my home." The weeks stretched endlessly. Elara threw herself into writing, penning pages of their story, how his touch made her feel alive, how his laughter chased away shadows. But loneliness crept in. What if he didn't come back? On the day he was due, a fierce storm hit Eldridge Bay, the worst in years. Waves battered the cliffs, roads flooded. Julian's train was delayed, then canceled. He texted frantically, "I'm trying everything to get to you. Please trust me." Elara waited at the lighthouse, the beam cutting through the rain like a beacon. Memories flooded her, their first kiss. Lazy mornings in bed, promises whispered in the dark, tears mixed with rain on her cheeks. Love isn't supposed to hurt this much, she thought. Hours passed. Midnight came. Then, through the downpour, she saw headlights of a rental car splashing through puddles. Julian emerged, drenched, carrying a bouquet of wildflowers he'd picked along the way. He ran to her, pulling her into his arms. I drove through the storm. Nothing could keep me from you. Sobbing, Elara kissed him fiercely. I was so scared. I know, he whispered, but we're stronger than fear. In the lighthouse keeper's old room, they sought shelter. As the storm raged outside, they made love passionate, reaffirming. Julian traced her skin with reverence. You're my everything, Elara. Marry me? Tears of joy streamed down her face. Yes. 1,000 times yes. Spring arrived with renewal. They married on the beach where they first walked, barefoot in the sand, surrounded by friends and the crashing waves. Elara wore a simple white dress. Julian, a linen suit. They exchanged vows written from the heart, promises of honesty, support, and unwavering love through storms, literal and figurative. Years passed. They built a life together. Julian's photography gallery in town, Elara's published novel dedicated to him. They had 2 children, a boy with Julian's eyes, a girl with Elara's spirit. But life tested them again. When Elara was diagnosed with a rare illness in her 40s, fear returned. Treatments were grueling, days blurred in hospitals. Julian never left her side, holding her hand through nausea, reading to her when she was weak. You're my lighthouse, she whispered, during a low moment, guiding me home. And you're my eternal rain, he replied, washing away the pain, bringing new life. She recovered, stronger. Their love deepened, scarred, but resilient. Decades later, in their 80s, they sat on the same beach, watching grandchildren play. The sun set as it had that first evening. Julian took Elara's hand. No regrets? None, she said, leaning on his shoulder. You were my greatest story. As the stars emerged, he kissed her softly. Their love, like the ocean, endless whispers carried on the wind, eternal.